But what if you feel that the sadness will never go away? I have brought 8 proven tips to help you to cope with depression. But wait, are you sure you're not just feeling down? Let's find out. Most people struggle to understand that depression is much more than simply being in a bad mood. It's a constant state of emptiness, sadness, and disinterest that lasts for at least 2 weeks or longer. If you could look into your brain during such times, CT or MRI scan can actually do, you would see some strange things. Depression changes the brain, along with behavior. How? A professor named Roland Zahn was curious about this and conducted an experiment with people who had supposedly recovered from depression. Participants were asked to imagine hurting a friend intentionally, triggering feelings of guilt. Meanwhile, researchers monitored their brain activity and took scans. 6 months later, some of these individuals relapsed into depression, while others. When the researchers compared the earlier scans, they found that the guilt-related brain regions looked different in those who relapsed versus those who didn't. But that's just the beginning. There's a region in your brain called hippocampus, which is primarily responsible for your memories. In people with depression, this region is typically smaller. Why? Because excessive stress hormones damage its neurons, causing it to shrink. And why is it that when your boss criticizes you or you get a bad grade in school, you might cry for days if you're depressed, while a healthy person would just shrink it off? This happens because the amygdala, which is one of the emotional centers of your brain, becomes much more sensitive in people with depression. Moreover, neurotransmitters in the brain of depressed individuals aren't functioning properly. But what are the neurotransmitters? Imagine them as ladders through which nerve cells can communicate. You can imagine the confusion that arises when certain messages don't reach their intended destination. This is precisely what happens in the body, often involving the abnormal transmission or depletion of neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, or norepinephrine. And these changes are only the tip of the iceberg, as neuroscientists are just beginning to understand this medical disorder. The good news is that the physical changes caused by depression can often be reversed, and I will explain how. But wait, let's clarify the visible symptoms of depression first. One major indicator, as I have already mentioned, is that unlike a bad mood, it doesn't go away on its own within a day or two and affects multiple areas of your life. So, what does feeling bad really mean? You might feel worthless, as thought you're good for nothing. You might find yourself lying down at night but unable to fall asleep or sleeping all day long. Concentration might become difficult at work or school as your thoughts drift. Or decision making feels impossible. You once enjoyed no longer bring you joy, and you might lose interest spending time with friends. You may lose your appetite entirely. Shedding pounds if multiple symptoms apply to you. You might be dealing with depression. And you should never feel ashamed of this, as we have established this, it's a disease, not a weakness. Now, let's dive into 8 proven tips to coping with depression. 1. Take a warm bath. Does it sound too simple? A doctor in 2016 conducted research in which the body temperature of people with depression was artificially raised. While the participant in the experiment received infrared radiation instead of a bubble bath, they still felt better. The functioning of the immune and hormonal system improved, and mood-enhancing hormones were released. Tip 2. Green therapy. This simply means that put on your coat and go outside in the nature. You don't even have to exert yourself physically if you don't want to. Just being outside is enough. Researchers observed that the little sensitive part of your brain, what I have mentioned before, it's amygdala, becomes less overactive, which helps to regulate the emotions better, reduces stress levels, and foster positive emotions such as calmness or gratitude. Oh, and speaking of plants, you could drink a cup of lemon balm tea, which has a calming effect, and if you drink it outdoors, that's double the benefit. 3. Seek the company of animals. Of course, it's great to pet a cat or take your dog for a walk, but researchers suggest that even sitting and watching fish swim in the aquarium can help. There's also animal-assisted therapies, where professionals use horses, dogs, or even dolphins. These programs can also help with physical and social issues. Study found that active interactions with animals improve people's quality of life because pet owners can experience bonding and their serotonin levels also increase. So if you don't have a pet yet, now might be the time. Tip 4. Dare to talk about your feelings. Believe me, there are more people willing to listen than you think, even if you feel like no one would understand. Sharing your feelings can also make it easier for you to eventually seek help. Moreover, sitting down with someone over a cup of coffee boosts your oxytocin levels, makes you feel less lonely, and can even improve your self-image. Tip 5. Mindfulness and meditation. At first, this might not sound very scientific, but mindfulness practices help people with depression. But what on earth is mindfulness? Think of it as a psychological treatment, only it's free and you can do it at home. The internet is full of such exercises, but the essence is simply to focus on your attention on the present moment. For example, you can practice mindfulness while washing dishes. Pay attention to the warm water running over your hands, the sounds and the smells. Be present in the moment. Why is this good? Because the present moment finally doesn't feel scary. Depression pulls you into negative thought spirals, but this practice helps you break free. Another exercise you can try is to observe your negative thoughts instead of pushing them away. Look at them with curiosity, and they won't make you feel bad because you won't identify yourself with them. You will become an external observer. These practices reduce the level of stress hormone, cortisol, and improve your sleep and may even reduce physical pain. Tip 6. Be grateful. You might wonder, what? Be grateful now when the life feels so terrible? But it's really important to try, and you can do it. I will tell you how in a moment. But first, let's talk about why and how gratitude helps. Remember the part of the brain called the hippocampus. This area, along with the amygdala, gets activated when you feel gratitude. Mood-enhancing hormones like dopamine and serotonin are immediately released, making you feel happier. But how can you feel grateful when life seems awful? Just do this. Take a notebook you like. Maybe decorate it. Make it too inviting. And sit down for 5 minutes every day. Spend that time writing down everything you can think of to be grateful for. At first it might be hard, but you will get the hang of it. Trust me, when you're feeling really down, read your gratitude journal. As soon as you feel grateful for something, the world will seem brighter. Tip 7. Self-expression. This might seem like an advanced technique, because if you don't feel like getting out of the bed, picking up a pencil or a brush to create something, it can seem hard. But maybe there is a pen nearby and you would enjoy writing down your thoughts. Or you could turn on some music and sing or dance. These activities all boost your dopamine levels. This is a happiness hormone and help you express the negative emotions you're suppressing. While on the topic of negative emotions, my 8th piece of advice is to address your traumas. The most common trigger for depression is one or more known or forgotten traumatic events in your life. What counts as trauma? A breakup, a loss of loved one, not achieving something you deeply desire, or losing something you cherished all qualify, and processing them should resemble the process of grieving. The final step in this process is forgiveness and acceptance. I mention this because depression is often the result of blocked process that doesn't reach acceptance. To get there, you may need help. If you're interested in this topic, let me know in the comments and I will make a video about it. There's also a good book that helped me uncover forgotten old traumas within myself. This can cause not only depression but also other physical illnesses. so it's worth addressing them. If you're interested, write me and I will share the title in the comments. Here is my bonus tip: adopt a healthy lifestyle. This includes exercise, sufficient sleep, and proper diet. Certain vitamin deficiencies, such as B6 and D, can worsen depression symptoms. Could you be a vitamin D deficient? Watch my next video to find out.